The guest list for Saudi Arabia's so-called Davos in the desert is starting to dry up. A week before the kingdom hosts its annual investment conference, a string of high-profile names, big corporations and media networks have dropped their plans to attend. Ford, JP Morgan and BlackRock are among the latest companies to join Uber and Viacom in skipping the three-day event. Others, like Richard Branson's Virgin, have decided to put their Saudi investment plans on hold. Pressure from international investors led to a sell-off on the Saudi stock market, which tumbled more than 7% over the weekend. That spilled over into currency markets, with the Riyadh falling to its weakest in 2 years on Monday. But arguably, the biggest pressure has come from the United States. President Donald Trump has threatened to impose sanctions on the kingdom if it's shown to have played a role in the disappearance and suspected murder of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. While Trump has ruled out cancelling a multi-billion-dollar arms deal, he's warned of other methods and has sent Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to Riyadh.
We are going to leave nothing uncovered. With that being said, the king firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know. Maybe, I don't want to get into his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows? We're going to try getting to the bottom of it very soon, but his was a flat denial.
But Saudi Arabia says it's ready to retaliate against any sanctions with even greater action. And analysts are warning of significant economic fallout if the threats escalate into actual penalties.
Possibility of sanctions and flagging sanctions around is no joke. We're talking about impact on Saudi, and not only Saudi. We're talking about the region, and we're talking globally, even for the U.S. itself. We're talking about, there are a lot of relations between companies, maybe such as Boeing and Saudi, perhaps other companies as well.
Oil prices have been boosted by the tension, with Brent crude briefly hitting $82 a barrel on Monday. If the U.S. goes ahead with sanctions on Saudi Arabia, analysts say it could boost oil prices to triple digits. Next week's Davos in the desert, more formally known as the Saudi Future Investment Initiative, has lost some key speakers and media partners. As a result, the kingdom will be looking to hang on to investors who have chosen to stay for now. Laila Humairah, TRT World.
Well, let's bring in our editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, who joins me now from Paris. Hi, Craig. So we heard that Saudi Arabia threatening stronger measures if they are punished over this Jamal Khashoggi case. I'm wondering, do you think it could lead to Saudi Arabia abusing its position as the world's dominant oil exporter in the event that they are punished?
I think the Saudis are right now running out a mirage. We're not going back to the days of the 1973 Arab oil embargo or anything like that. What we are going to see is no creative diplomacy going forward, and a continuation of American foreign policy that has never put a limit on what Saudi Arabia can and cannot do if it wants to do it. And that's all buttressed by the Saudis holding more than $100 billion in U.S. treasuries, the amount of oil they obviously produce on a daily basis for the world market, and in the neighborhood of $450 billion of U.S. infrastructure and other countries' infrastructure projects in Saudi Arabia since 2010, plus the weapons sales. There's just way too much money involved.
Yes, and we heard there in the story that Donald Trump, it seemed like he was softening his stance against Saudi Arabia, choosing to believe the king, saying that perhaps road killers were behind the deaths. But earlier, he did threaten to severely punish Saudi Arabia if it was found that it was involved in his disappearance. Do you think Trump will follow through in any way on this?
I don't believe so. I believe the severe punishment here is, what I'm hearing on the market, is that they're waiting for Khashoggi fatigue to set in. Look, the most charitable position is this was a kidnapping that went gruesomely wrong, and that a lot of important people on the market, on Wall Street, are now saying in public what they have said for years in private, and that is that Saudi is a rich but backward country that operates with a medieval arrogance and petulance. It is by definition a hereditary totalitarian monarchy. And this is what totalitarian hereditary monarchies do.
Meanwhile, the CEOs of JP Morgan, BlackRock, Blackstone and Ford are the latest global business leaders to boycott this so-called Davos in the desert next week. Do you think this will have any bearing on how the Saudis choose to proceed? Are they worried about these boycotts?
Well, the price of doing business here is that no one's coming to their party, Davos in the desert. Perhaps they'll be going next year. What we are seeing here, which I think is good for the first time in a public forum, you're hearing businessmen saying, particularly investors in young Prince Salman's Saudi 2030 vision, that they don't want to do business with an operation like this. They don't want to end up as another statistic, like many of the people who have disappeared and businessmen who have disappeared in Saudi Arabia, be they blood relatives, ministers, or some of the business barons, from the region. So there's going to be a big discussion here. What I'm kind of hearing here, and it's speculation out of D.C., but from pretty high quarters, is that Prince Salman's time may be running out, that wiser people may prevail and the king may come back in. And I wouldn't be to actually micromanage this whole thing at the expense of young Prince Salman's vision here.
Interesting.
Because there obviously was a screw up, and it's really hurting Saudi's reputation.
Fascinating stuff. Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you as always.